What is going on, folks? Simulation for the Nation here. Welcome to our harvest scene on Carmson Farm, where in this video we are going to look through the top 10 mods you need to add for ultimate realism for your gameplay in FS22. If you want to learn about this, do stick around, hit that like button and subscribe for more. But for now, let's get in. So like I say, we are going to be focusing on 10 mods available on the mod hub right now, primarily for PC only at the moment, unfortunately, console players, because of the limitations within the platforms. However, we're going to be looking into mods that can make your game that bit more enjoyable, if you are a fan of realism there, a little bit more immersive as well, and all around just a lot more realistic. So let's get stuck in. The very first one we're going to have a look into requires us to go and do a bit of grass cutting. So we have with us a big M in the middle of a field. And we're going to just jump on into this guy here. So there is not much different about this scene. Please note as well, we're using the version 1.2 of Carmson here. Check out that cut grass texture. Doesn't that just look like an absolutely idyllic scene? Anyway, now this grass, before we go anywhere, you'll see as we jump out here, it is ready to harvest. So it's in its full growth stage. However, the first mod that we're going to be looking at is just called grass mowing. It allows you to cut the grass at any growth stage. So if you've just cut it and it's the very next stage after that, you can mow it. If it is in the final stage, you can mow it, and anywhere in between. Now, the reason I like this one so much is because when you are trying to get 2, 3, sometimes maybe even 4 cuts of silage from a season, you're not necessarily going to be able to allow it to grow to the final stage where it's ready for harvest. What you may need to do instead is get as much of you can off the field there in the time limit you have. So when it's getting in towards the end of summer, early autumn there, and the conditions are less favorable, this will allow you to still get that final 3rd or 4th cut off your field there and enable you to get that extra fodder that you need for your cattle. So if you're a dairy farmer, really do like that. I think that's a fantastic little addition there, and one that is very simple but adds an awful lot to the game. Like I say, the grass textures on Carmson are looking fantastic. So next up, we're going to look at 2 together, and the 2 that we've already had a bit of a review with on the channel. We're going to be looking at GPS here. So we're going to use this lovely little 7810 with a Kverneland 5-throw plow on the back. Now, GPS is an absolute godsend for me. I think it's a fantastic addition to the game. It adds so much in its variety. It allows you to be very efficient with your work in there, but it's also very easy to add in across the board. So we're going to look into that today. Now, for us to do that properly, we need to get a bit of field work going. So we're going to use this plow to do that. And yes, we're going to probably end up plowing over some straw, but we'll make that do. GPS is very easy to program. As you can see down the right hand side there, we have our list of configurable options. And like I say, I do have a video on this, so do make sure you go and check that one out there. It gives you the full instructions on how to use and program GPS. But for this instance, we're just going to do a bit of this. Put down the plow. Maybe go down a gear or 2, that'll be easier for everybody. And away we go. So we're setting in our route here, we're setting in our AB line. You can use heading as well, but we're going to use our AB line here. We're going to program that one in, and then every time it allows you, every pass, to be as efficient as possible. You have a really in-depth menu here by pressing Control S, and it allows you again to really program in everything that you need. What we'll do is do a bit of that. So now you can see, that's the width is still a little bit higher, but that is our working width, and that'll be the direction we're working to, and that's how we can function. And tying into GPS is headland management. Now, headland management is perfect. I did a video on this very recently. It allows you, with a simple press of a couple of buttons such as this, it allows you to be able to control so many different features of your tractor in one press of a button. So when you are getting close to the edge of the headland, you can choose to raise and lower implements there. You can choose to activate or deactivate GPS, turn on or off your hydraulics if you or your hydraulics or your PTO if you're using such implements. Raise and lower ridge markers. You can do all of these things all within a press of the button. And why is that so good? Well, because sometimes you know, in modern day machines you can program in the tractor to do exactly that. So it makes it more efficient. It makes it easier for the operator, and then you can take your time to turn safely, get back on your next pass, and you're away. Much is the same here. If you have any queries about how this works, then I would strongly encourage you to go and check out the videos. I will link them in the description down below, so you can see what that looks like and how to implement it. We're not going to spend too much time plowing as much as I would like to. We've got a lot of other things to go and cover, including the very next one. which is an old staple, a fan favorite, if you will. Something that's been around for at least 17, I think, when it was in with a few other really fantastic mods there. It could have been around even longer. We're looking at manual attach. And we're going to start this tractor up first. And we're going to look at manual attach and another secret weapon as well. The first secret weapon is the air hose connect sound script. Now just listen to this. That's the air going out. And then when you reconnect this here, listen to the air being recharged into the brakes there. That is a very, very, very simple feature, but I love it. It's that extra immersion. Now, that is only going to be paired with the functionality that we're taking here, which is, of course, the manual attach. So what we're going to do is step away. We're going to take off our hoses, and then we're going to lower down our implement. Just perfect. Having manual attach in there is fantastic there. It's just another realm of the world that we don't have as standard, and it's just so simple to include. I think it's really, really, really effective there, and something that I don't know why we never really thought of as a standard feature, but again, so simple and so easy. I really do appreciate that one. So we're going to move on now. Already we have covered off 5, which is nice, which is pretty cool to get through them all, but there's a few handy ones that we need this combine for. So let's just jump on into here. Some of you may well be able to think what they are. We need to do a little bit of combining first because we need to fill up our tank for one of them. But there is a new mod recently, which is, of course, beware of straw. So for that, I'm going to show you what that is. Now, this works well to a degree. There is still a few bits missing that perhaps we could see added on as a later edition. But beware of straw when you're in a combine, for example, is that if you lower your implement down too quickly there, it will pick up the swath ahead of you. And it removes it like that. Now, that is very true to life. Your combine's going to do that if you don't be savvy with your header. However, what I would love to see as a 1.1 or a later edition is that it comes out the back. Because when you're driving your combine in real life there, the straw doesn't just magically disappear on you. It will still be there. Whereas right now, it looks like we've lost that straw. So we ideally want a little bit of a change up for that. And as you can see, it will happen anywhere if I just swerve out the line here as well. And go over onto this swath here. You can see it's left a big old chunk out of the swath. And it hasn't replenished that back into where you'd expect it to, unfortunately. But that is a nice feature. It means that when you're driving your combine, you have to be more aware of what is happening around you. You have to be able to be on the ball to make those decisions. So I really do like that. Now the next one, we're going to come up to this trailer right here to show you. It is the manual combine discharge. Again, very, very simple. I don't know about you, but when I drive up to a park combine with the auger out there, I don't particularly enjoy seeing the grain automatically unloading. However, with this mod, as you can see, as I pull over the trailer, it recognizes that it's in its trigger, much like a trailer would at a sell point. And then I just need to press I, and then I start unloading. Not unloading much there, but you get the point. And it's just, again, it's a feature, it's something the combine driver has to actively do and press. And I'm all for it. I think that is superb. And finally, one last mod to show you here as we're in the combine. We need to raise up our straw chopper on the back. So we're just going to pull that up. We're going to get ourselves in to our position. And I really hope to see, there's a few mods I would like to see come soon as well. We are going to do a bit of a video on that one as well, because I still think there's some great opportunities out there. But you're going to see as we get tucked into this, we are starting to chop some straw, and there it is. The chopped straw mod. In years gone by, it has added increased performance requirements there to machines, but now it seems to be working effortlessly. And it's just nice to see that when you're chopping your straw, you leave the residue on the ground as you'd expect to. And I think it looks great. Check out the animation coming off the back of the combine as well. I think that is brilliant there. And that texture is sublime. Love it. A nice bit of organic matter going back into the ground. And it represents a field that has had chopped straw on it. So I think that's really, really good. Again, it's a very simple feature, but I think it works so, so well. And with that, we're going to get out the combine. Now, there could be an additional mod for the combine here that we should bring in there, which would be the auto raise and lower header, which is disabled. So when you engage the threshing unit, the header doesn't automatically lower down. That could be something you could certainly include there as well. But in all transparency, I wanted to keep it to 10, and that's what we've done. So we've already gone through quite a few of our options, to be honest. But we have a few left to look into, so let's not worry too much. We're going to go and jump into a tractor here for a few of these now, because there's a few very interesting additions that we need to look into. So whilst we just jump on over here, we're going to jump into this vent, which is already, which we just need to hook back up there actually. And we're going to have a look into them. This is where we cheat a little bit. There are 2 more mods that we need to look into. However, one of them has a few more mods about them. And what I'm going to do is roll into a little bit more of an explanation for that. The first one we're going to look into are the realistic mods, and now they came onto the mod hub just recently. They would be called the REA in big block capital letters, REA 22. We've got the realistic implements, we've got the realistic wheels, and we've got the realistic center of gravity. We're going to package those all in together. We'll have a very quick look into them all right now. So the first mod as we have a look at this tractor here is the center of gravity. Now we'll have a look at that because this really does adjust how the tractor will handle. It makes the tractor a little bit less stable. The new center of gravity now on these tractors has been moved 25 centimeters above the rear wheel axle, and also 25 centimeters in and above from the front axle. What that does is mean that if you drive around a corner at full speed in the tractor there, you're more than likely going to roll that tractor over now. So you really have to function on what you're doing at the time there and drive appropriately for that condition as well. And next up, we're going to be looking into the wheels. Now, the wheels on this becomes very interesting indeed, and the main reason for that is because grip starts to play a very big part in your game. In the base game, for example, many vehicles do not take tire type into consideration for making... it will essentially make a Manitou, and the grip of Manitou has exactly the same as a tractor. There's no comparison in there. This mod though, this mod's going to fill in all the missing information, and what that will allow you to do is, currently it supports 4 different tire types. You have mud, street, you're going to have off-road, and you're going to have crawlers as well. It calculates all the friction based off the size of the tires, and it will therefore calculate the amount of grip that you're going to have. So depending upon the condition of the road that you're, or the field that you're in there, and the tire type you're using, it's going to affect how much grip that you have for that task. So you might see a little more wheels spinning. You might, when you're on softer ground there, you might see that you're going to struggle for traction. And when you might find that diff locks have to come into play a little bit more. And a lot of different features that, again, that makes you kind of think about what you're doing there. And it's all these little things that really kind of add in together. Makes driving the tractor in Farm Sim a lot more complex, a lot more realistic, and you really have to think about what you're doing. If you're going out in to do some plowing, for example, have you got a weight on the front? Do you need a weight on the front there? Are you going to have enough grip to pull because it's a little bit wet? You have to kind of put all these conditions into the forefront of your mind before you can go out there. Now, some people might not like that. That might be a little bit too much for them, but for me, I think that's a really interesting step to take. Now, finally, as we're going to go and cruise ourselves down to the store over here, just to tip this load behind me, the final realistic mod is for implements. Now, what that will do, it takes the type of implement that you're using and will decide on the task that you're using that implement for, and to see if you need more or less power to complete that task. Now, a perfect example of this will be drilling. So if you're seeding directly into stubble that hasn't been cultivated, it's going to demand a lot more power to do that, because you're having to drag the coulters through a bit of a compacted field that hasn't been worked over yet. So that's going to take a lot more horsepower, as opposed to a freshly cultivated field where the surface topsoil is a lot looser than it's already been pre-worked over for you. Now, this is going to be an interesting balance, because depending upon how you program or how you rotate through your fields there, fields with higher yields or a higher yielding approach might require more horsepower to run, which means costs are going to be higher for you to do that as well. So it's all a lot of interesting factors. Additionally, as well, as we've gone the wrong way here, additionally, if you are baling straw or baling hay, it's a lighter material to bale, which is great. If you're baling silage, which is a bigger, thicker, heavier crop, it's going to take more power to run the baler at the same speed. So again, lots of things that you need to kind of iron into your thought process there. Again, if you want to be able to bale a lot of silage, and you might need to get a bigger tractor to pull the baler so you can manage it at the same speed. Now, I hope I've explained that enough for you. I feel like it's a really interesting mod, because farming's not the same from field to field, especially if you're using the same implements there. There's a lot of different variations to take on board. And I think that this mod is providing us with that great opportunity as well. Now, finally, You'll see I'm kind of rolling around here as we're going into our grain sell point here. The tractor does seem to roll a little bit. I'm not using much throttle here, and the reason that we don't really need to, and the reason we're rolling is because we're using the reduced engine braking mod. Now, in a default Giants tractor, there's a heavy amount of engine braking, which would mean that when I get the step off the throttle, the tractor comes to a pretty sudden stop. Whereas right now, because we're using engine braking, as I drive forward, when I let off the throttle there, the tractor slowly rolls to a stop. It isn't definitive. It doesn't feel sudden. It's stopping under its own momentum, which is exactly what you want to see. Because again, a tractor doesn't necessarily stop unless you tell it to stop by stopping, pressing on the brakes, changing the shifter direction. It's not going to stop quickly. It's going to roll. That's what momentum is going to do. It's going to keep you rolling forward there. And it's a nice little thing to add. What I have noticed since having this back in the game is that it does actually really focus your mind on when you're shunting around a yard, for example, or doing something like this. You have to really pay attention to where you're going, because otherwise, before you know it, you're going to crash into another machine or into a shed or whatever it may be. Nobody really wants to have to do that. And so there you have it, folks. In the briefest of summaries there, they are the top 10 mods that I would love to take for any game for the ultimate realism. I really do hope we're going to see a lot more of these coming through. I know of a few more that I'm looking forward to seeing already, so as soon as they come out, we'll be doing more tutorials. For most of the mods that we've discussed today, there will be, or there has been, a tutorial already. If you need more answers or have any questions, don't forget to leave those down below. Always happy to answer them. If you've enjoyed, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. I've been Simulation for the Nation, and we will see you all in the next one. Catch you later.